What is going on, traders? We're going to try to make this one quick, but before we start, like, subscribe, comment your thoughts below. Let's get into the video. So, from my last video, we were pretty spot on. I gave you guys multiple scenarios, and the main scenario I was looking at was either a double top scenario forming on the SPY heading into today and Tuesday, or a lower high. And it looks like we got that lower high scenario instead. If we're looking at the 4 hour on the SPY, we also have us a head and shoulders pattern forming. We have a shoulder here, head here, and another shoulder here. And if we zoom in, we have us a bearish engulfing pattern. So that's showing me that bears are really trying to push this down. And right now we closed right above this rising wedge pattern, which is the top of this trend right here. So if we break this, I do believe that we are going to head much lower. And right now, my next target is about 537 on the SPY. Me personally, I think we could head as low as 530, 529 before we see a real bounce in the market, but we'll talk about that if we get closer to that target. Right now, my main focus on the SPY is about 537. So pay attention to that. Pay attention to this trend right here. You can mark it on your charts if you want. We zoom out, we look at the daily. So you guys see I'm not making this up. It's all right here. Now, another thing is that I told you guys, or I tell you guys all the time about rolling over into patterns. Now, if you don't understand what that means, it simply means that when you have a breakout of a pattern, or I guess in this case it will be a false breakout or considered a false breakout, you break out of a pattern that's supposed to go in a certain direction. So, for example, a rising wedge is actually a bearish pattern. But what happens if you break out in the opposite direction? So, this will be a bullish breakout, you end up rolling over. And that's exactly what I was saying in my last at least two videos, I believe. Where if you roll over, it gets really ugly. Like it gets really bad and you break down. Okay, so that is why I'm looking at 530 being our potential lowest point, which is at the bottom of this rising wedge, right? Even here, this is a good example right here, where you broke out or you attempted to break out multiple times. I mean, multiple times here, guys. You tried to break out, and then eventually, bulls gave up, bear stepped in, and then you broke back in, you rolled back into the pattern, and then you completely broke down. So, we could be looking at the same exact scenario happening here. Now, heading into tomorrow, I don't think we're going to like immediately drop tomorrow. Again, that double top scenario is still on the table as far as the daily is concerned, where we can be doing one of these moves. Right here, maybe we revisit 550 before we break completely down. It's also important to notice that on a daily time frame, we do have us a inverted hammer pattern or a hammer pattern. I prefer my inverted hammer patterns to be green or bullish looking, but right now I don't trust this. Okay, so if we want to consider this a reversal pattern, it looks like the pattern, assume that it is the pattern until it isn't, then we could be looking at a bounce higher heading into tomorrow, maybe set up a bear trap, or not a bear trap, a bull trap, and then break back down. All right. If we're focusing on the daily time frame. But right now, if we're considering the 4 hour time frame and what we're seeing as far as this inverse head and shoulders pattern and a bearish engulfing pattern, then chances are we could be looking at an immediate move heading into tomorrow, or a immediate move heading down as far as tomorrow goes. Now, important to note that as far as Tuesdays, because I don't mention this enough, I do say it sometimes, but we always talk about how Mondays correlate with Fridays. What usually happens on Tuesdays as far as historical data? Well, as far as Tuesdays go, they usually, I was about to say genuinely for some reason, but they usually continue what Mondays have started. And since today was majority bearish, we have to assume, based on historical data, that Tuesdays are going to continue that move, but in a bigger way. Why? Because Mondays are usually boring. They're usually low volume, but then Tuesdays start picking up on volume, and that's what we can be looking at here as far as the SPY goes. So again, I think we can start heading as low as 537, and well, not as low, but minimum 537. The lowest I'm looking at is about 530, 529, which is pretty much at the bottom of this wedge if we're looking at the daily time frame. It's also important to note that we do have a gap at around 537, 536.8. So something else to keep in mind as far as the SPY. But that's really all I have as far as the SPY or talking about the SPY. If we don't break down immediately tomorrow and we start seeing upwards movement, then I will pay attention to the daily time frame and just see if we start heading towards 550 again, maybe form a double top up here, considering this reversal pattern or potential reversal pattern here. But other than that, I'm looking at more downside heading into tomorrow. All right. So those are your two scenarios you should be looking at as far as the SPY triple Qs. So triple Qs pretty much it looks the same. I mean, it looks really bad. We could be looking at a move. I've told you guys in the last video that we could be looking at a move to 475 on the triple Qs, and I wanted to see bears, and I actually accidentally got rid of my supply and demand zone here, but there was a supply and demand zone here as far as the last video goes. You can check it out so you don't think I'm just making it up or anything like that. But right here, we closed it below this supply and demand zone, and this is a very strong bearish candle. I mean, bears stepped in very hard in this area. Pause. Right. So we could be we're not looking good. All right, we're not looking good if we want to be bullish. Okay, so let's get rid of this because I don't want too much clutter. But right now, these two yellow lines here are your gaps. Okay, this is your gap on the daily time frame. We look at the gap, and this is your gap on the daily time frame. So heading into tomorrow, I do think we're going to start heading towards that 470 for as low as 468. Now, I told you guys in other videos that I do think, or maybe I told you in the last video, that I do think we can start heading as low as 460 on the Qs before we start seeing a potential bounce within the market. I don't think this bearish move is going to last long. If anything, I would assume that it's going to last at least to the end of the week. And the reason why is that we don't really have much news as far as the beginning of the week, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. But then once we start getting into Thursday, I think the market is dropping to prepare for a potential for more upside. I could be wrong there. Okay. I'm not a person that trades news or anything. I just let you guys know what's happening or what's going to come as far as news. But we have unemployment claims on Thursday. And then we have, I believe, yeah, so we have no, not GDP, PCE data on Friday. So if anything, if we do drop until these dates, then I would assume that we're going to start seeing a recovery once this data comes in because we want to continue to see good news. We want to see inflation continuing to drop, so on and so forth, all that stuff if you care about it. But as far as the triple Qs go, 470 is my next target. I think we're going to start heading there as far as tomorrow goes. If we don't, and we just so happen to like have some dead cat bounce scenario, or maybe we do hit 470 and start bouncing from there. Because I tell you guys all the time, gaps have very, very strong support and resistance. So if we do bounce before we even feel this gap, then we can start heading back to the previous highs. I mean, it's possible. Okay, it's very much possible. Gaps are very strong. All right, very, very strong. And I can't imagine what this Fed member would say for us to just immediately start filling this gap heading into tomorrow. There's a Fed member speaking at like 7 in the morning. I don't know what he could say, but I don't know. I don't know. He may say something crazy, and then we actually just fill the gap up. All right. So 470 is what I'm looking at. That is your key level to look out for. If you want to see a bounce from there, then that's the level you should look at. All right. That's all I really have as far as the triple Qs. Let me actually zoom out to make sure I didn't miss anything. But even here, guys, I mean, it's the same thing with the SPY. It looks, they're pretty identical. You can see it here, where we pretty much just kept going back and forth, consolidating on this trend, and then we eventually broke down. So that is why this trend is so significant, and why I said in the last video that we could be looking at the top here as far as short term on the triple Qs. But I do think at some point, at least around 460, that we could be looking at a recovery at that point. Now, two stocks I want to go over real quick, and then I'll let you guys get up out of here. Apple. All right, Apple. So I told you guys about Apple. I've let you guys know that Apple it can give you a good buying opportunity. I think if Apple gives up 207, 206, it's a very tight range here. 206, I would say 206 to be really safe. Start packing. Okay, start getting your bags ready. Okay, I'm not kidding. Okay, the reason why is that if you're new to the channel, because I know people that's been on this channel for a minute, you're tired of this. But we're looking at this double bottom on the weekly time frame. We got our bottom here, and our neckline at 200, right? If Apple comes back to this neckline and retest it at around 200 and 196, please believe me when I say I am getting calls. I'm getting leaps on this thing. All right? Please believe me when I say that. All right, I will get the Discord ready. We're going to be locked and loaded. I am so ready for this move. So ready. I mean, you couldn't. This is such a good entry. Such a good entry in my opinion. So 206 as far as Apple, I'm not going to drag this, but 206, I want to see a break of 206. We break 206. I honestly think we're just going to head straight to 200 at that point. Why? Because we're very illiquid under here. Very illiquid. There's nothing here to hold us back. This big candle right here, completely liquidated area. We're going to drop fast. What causes that? I don't know. Maybe the Fed member says something insane tomorrow, or I don't know. Maybe unemployment claims, whatever the case may be. Really pay attention to Apple and how it reacts to this 206 area, 207. You want to say 206 to be safe. It breaks 206 and hold. Please believe we're dropping fast, and I will definitely be looking at a buying opportunity between 196 and 200. Something to pay attention to. That's really all I have. I'm not going to drag it. I know you guys are tired of me talking about Apple so much. Next stock, Nvidia. I haven't been going over Nvidia because it hasn't been giving us anything. I mean, it just keeps going up, or it kept going up. But currently, after hours, this is exciting. Okay, now I'm excited about Nvidia. Okay, I'm excited about Nvidia again. I already have shares in Nvidia. I got like 25 shares. I got it before pre-market split, but now this is looking great. All right. I got shares at my average is about 100. Yeah, like about 100 something, 100 something. So we're looking really good on Nvidia. This looks like it's going to give us a buying opportunity. Someone asked me where is the buying opportunity on Nvidia in the Discord between 90 and 95. Between 90 and 95. I mean, right here. All right, this trend right here. This is what you want to see. Mark this on your charts. Bounce right here, and then it played games right here, but it broke right back up, and then you bounced right here as well. All right, I'm telling you guys now, it hits this trend. That's the buying opportunity that I am looking at. Do what you want with this info. Reason being, and just so you know, I'm not solely depending on the trend or everything or anything like that. I'm definitely looking at more. But right here, this gap fill, right here, as you guys can see, we're just gonna mark everything right now. We're gonna do this in real time. Rejection here, rejection here. You were pretty much consolidating here, so we won't call it a rejection, but consolidation here, and then look what happened. You gapped up and broke higher. This area right here is where I'm looking to buy. You got double support. All right. There's a supply and demand zone here as well. You got double support. You got like triple rejections here. Okay, you got consolidation here. You got your trend here. You got, I mean, you got your gap here. I tell you guys all the time, gaps have very strong support and resistance. You got your gap here. I mean, beautiful entry in my opinion. 95 between 95 and 90 is what we're looking at for Nvidia. Right now Nvidia is below 118 after hours. If it holds this, it's heading towards 110. All right, that's what I think is going to happen. It's going to start heading as low as 110 if we continue to close or we open up tomorrow below 118. So wasn't really expecting that to happen during after hours, but something to pay attention to. It is Nvidia. It does crazy stuff after hours a lot of times. But 95, can't stress that enough. That's what I'm looking at between 95, 90. Then further down, if it goes further down than that, then I'm just looking at dollar cost average at that point. All right. So that's what I'm looking at as far as Nvidia. Obviously, this will probably be dragging the market down if this continues, but beautiful buying opportunities on the way. That's really all I wanted to go over was Apple and Nvidia, and that's all I have, guys. Oh, Bitcoin. Let's knock out Bitcoin real quick. I told you guys 57K. This thing is heading to 57K. Simple as that. That's all I have. All right, 57K. Worst case scenario, if you are bearish, you can do one of these moves and maybe retest one more time. 66K, 68K, somewhere around that range. But otherwise, 57K, easy. That's all I have. All right. I mean, you see it here. Ascending triangle, it completely just failed. It just failed miserably. This inverse head and shoulders pattern failed miserably. Everything just absolutely failed. I had so much faith in Bitcoin, and I'm really glad I didn't start buying into crypto just yet because it just wasn't there yet. Okay, it just wasn't there yet for me, and I'm really glad I didn't jump the gun. I plan on. Someone asked me when's a good time to start looking into crypto. Me personally, I would like Bitcoin to see Bitcoin at 52K. The 57K is a good start, and then from there, I will be looking at dollar cost average if Bitcoin has lower. Between 52K and 46K is what I'm looking at as far as buying opportunities for Bitcoin. I know that's very low. But look, people doubt me all the time when I call out these price targets, and I continue to be right. Okay, I continue to be right on my price targets. Maybe I miss here and there, but It's rare. So do what you want with that. You know, you can argue about it all you want, but it looks like we're heading to 57K on Bitcoin. Simple as that. The lowest I'm looking at is between 52K and 46K. Those are my buying opportunities. That's all I have. Till the next video, traders. Have a good one.